Escape to DOS.
After days and nights of incredible labor and fatigue, I succeeded in discovering the cause of generation and life. Nay, more, I became myself, capable of bestowing animation upon lifeless matter. Welcome, friends, to a 386 Retro Reincarnation. This time we're combining parts from Series 1 with a motherboard I resurrected in the untested gamble, and a few we've yet to see. So we have a case and a floppy drive. I bought these next two items back in August of 22. And for one reason or another, I never got around to unboxing and testing them. Until now. But they were listed as fully functional, so let's hope that's the case. This is the Trident TVGA 8900CL-B. I scoured eBay for months and months trying to find a 1 megabyte Trident card. And finally this one appeared. And it says okay on it, but when I'm looking at it, it's kind of crusty. Yeah, and that's going to take some cleaning, and hopefully it does work. Fingers crossed. Because it's too late to turn back now. I purchased this item on the very same day. I just lucked out and found it at the very same time. And what do we have? And to those of you who have done this before, it is very clear that this is going to be... drum roll please. It's a controller card with no label whatsoever. I searched the internet to find this and nothing else. So I know it was made in Taiwan in 1991, and yeah, that's about all I know. Cola Industries made a VGA card as well, but as long as it works, that's really all that matters. Crossing off another. Man, did I have some luck with the untested gamble. This was the first of the two 386 boards. We have a motherboard, I added RAM, and it came with 128K of cash. Back in Series 1, Part 4, The Purge, I discovered that this case is designed to accommodate either AT or ATX computers. It's even stamped into the case. And that was incredible news as far as I'm concerned. But just because it says it is, doesn't necessarily mean I believe it. So let's check this out. So the placement of the standoffs on the back side are correct. Those three work just fine. It is the front of the board which is a different story, and we'll get to that in a moment, but first we're going to change the switch. Fortunately, it is just a matter of removing that one screw, which is a bit of a tight fit to get your wrist in there. Next, I snip the wrap tie to separate it from the bundle of wires, revealing the ATX momentary switch that looks exactly like an AT switch. So I'm removing the little bracket that holds it onto the case, and I will transfer that to this AT power supply, which means we have another one off the list. And because this is an AT power supply from 1992, it has minus 5 volts, which at the end of this video we will discover why that matters. Here I am reattaching that little bracket onto the actual AT switch from the power supply. Off camera, I gave this case a good cleaning, I used some degreaser, and now it is ready to be filled with stuff. This is the sound of an AT switch. In goes the motherboard. I'm going to find out exactly how well those standoffs line up. But with this motherboard, that one right in the middle there, that would not line up correctly, and I had to cut it down with my Dremel. But the top right corner doesn't have any mounting holes, so I just used some felt underneath that. You can see there's a bit of flex in the board in that spot. But the last 3 screws I put in, And the Data Expert 367C has a new home. The ground wires in the middle and the positive wires on the outside. There were no cards in this machine, so I need to remove a couple of those blanks. I saved those in a bag and I stuck it to the bottom of the case. First, I'm slipping in the controller card, and then next I'm going to put in that Trident video card. This is a dead CD-ROM drive. I don't know what's wrong with it, and I don't really care. What I want is the case. So I don't have a fancy 3D printer, but I do have a bunch of old retro garbage. And keeping with the reincarnation theme, why not...
You can't polish a turd.
I beg to differ. I start by cutting a hole in the top. It's a square hole, gives me access to the SD to IDE adapter and also to be able to connect the cables easily. I measured out the height and I drilled some holes, and then I used a file to make that slot for the SD card. And I used hot glue to hold the front of the CD tray in place. I used 2 of the brass standoffs, the extra ones from the case, and that was just enough height. And even with that much of the brass protruding, it still fits just fine. And I extended the wires to make it easier to plug in the power. That's with the adhesive heat shrink. I dug into the pile of CD-ROMs from the lot of computers, and I'm going to put in a screw just to make sure everything's secure while I'm doing my testing. Well, it doesn't look amazing, but, looks fine. 2 more off the list. Hard drive gone. And the CD-ROM. I have way too many of these stupid PCI modem cards, so I decided to take the speaker from that, protected the solder joints with some hot glue, and attached it to the case.
Hooray!
That is 2 AAA batteries producing 3.1 volts and a diode. Yeah, I think it looks stupid and I don't like it, and I'm going to change it once I get some CR2032 holders. But for now, the CMOS battery is dealt with. Testing the VGA card. And it works. 32-bit. I wanted to see what the video score would be. This is with the new Trident card. The previous score was 14.2 with the Oak card. And we get 15.1. So, who knew? The Trident card is actually faster. The card works, but it does this. Whenever the computer is thinking, it does this sort of wavy pattern on the screen. So I took the card and put it under the microscope, and what did I find? Well, I found one leg that may have been making contact slightly, but it needed to be soldered proper, so that was the next step. This time I used the Chip Quick solder paste. Touched up all the solder joints, mainly in that area, just to make sure that nothing else was going to pop loose. And then had a look at the rest of the card. And there's a bit of crust and whatnot that's in between the legs there, so I gave that a good scrub just to make sure that nothing was making any kind of connections. But that made absolutely no difference. None whatsoever. The next most obvious thing was the amount of corrosion on these VRAM chips. I gave those a good scrub and I used lots of contact cleaner and hoped that that would make some kind of a difference. But nope, same thing. Absolutely same. So at this point it's pretty clear that the controller card works just fine. My SD to IDE adapter was perfectly recognized, no problem. Neither the Doom demo or the Quake demo will run on this 386, I discovered. So I thought maybe it might be time to have a little look at that NPU, the math coprocessor chip. The kind of thing that I never had back in the early 90s. And always kind of dreamed about and wondered how much better would the computer run. This is the very first time I have ever installed a numeric processor into a 386. There it is, my very first. You have to be careful when you install the numeric processor, because if you put it in the wrong way, you can damage it. And there is a notch on one of the corners, depending on what the company is, and you match that with the very obvious notch in the socket. This was part of a collection that I bought, so I don't even know if it works. I am just hoping that it does. And our answer will soon be revealed. And there it is. Numeric processor present.
Oh yeah!
So while you weren't looking, I bumped up the RAM to 20 megs as well. And I'm going to try running that Doom one more time. And no. No, it just gets stuck right there. Next, I'm going to test to see if the speed of the machine has changed at all in system information. And the answer is no. It's exactly the same as it was before. Next, I'm going to run it with conventional memory only and attempt to run the Quake demo. Let's see how far it works with option C. And to my surprise, it almost worked. But not quite. And option D does exactly the same thing. So I have to accept that this machine cannot run Quake. I decided to do a comparison with my other 386. Now both these machines have the same RAM, they've got an NPU, and they have a 1 megabyte Trident card. But the video result is drastically different, and even gets a score of 16.9 in Superscape. And furthermore, it runs Doom and Quake. It runs them deplorably slow, but whatever, they run. Leading me to suspect the video card. This is the Trident 8900D, and in the Data Expert, it only comes up with 5173. Also, it only gets a score of 15.8, while in the Data Expert. And still, it is unable to run either Doom or Quake. So that's disappointing, but it's something to work on, and the machine really does work, though. As far as the waviness, it seems to be only an issue with the startup screen and maybe a little bit in Windows. I haven't shown that yet, but we will. We'll look at that eventually. When I first got my hands on a 386 computer back in 1992, we didn't have a sound card to begin with. And this is what we had to listen to. Yeah, the PC speaker. That's all there was to begin with. Sound cards were an unpleasant expense back in 1992, and a lot of people just settled with this terrible PC speaker sound. Myself included, until about 1993 when I found a very cheap supply of OEM Sound Blaster Pro cards. I had no idea that Yamaha was producing the synthesizer chip that went into the Ad-Lib or Sound Blaster Pro or Gravis Ultrasound. I had no idea at the time. But this computer needs an upgrade already. And inside this 5 1/4 box, one of the only things I've saved from the 90s, and I mean the 5 1/4 box, not the actual contents. This is the Sound Blaster 2.0, the CT1350B. And the thing that is special about the Sound Blaster 2, the CT1350B, are those 3 empty sockets. It's not even the chip that's in the socket that makes the thing so special, which is just the standard mono YM3812, otherwise known as the Opal 2 chip, right there. And this card requires -5 volts from the power supply and will sound strange if you don't supply that -5 volts. Oh yeah, I made a backing plate as well. Why exactly did I build this computer? Well, number one, because I love building computers. There's that. I do have a 386 already that I've done recording with, and it has a Sound Blaster Pro card, so what do I need another 386 for? They're obsolete, ridiculous machines. Comes down to 3 words: Creative Music System. Before the Opal 3 chip, which I'm clearly smitten with, and even before the Opal 2 chip, there was CMS. And it sounds a lot different. And I can't wait to start recording with it. I intend on creating all kinds of new music with the CMS and also the Opal 3 chip. Maybe on its own, maybe with, we'll see. But this is the end of the retro reincarnation. I now have a fully functional 386 that is just aching to get a sound card. And it's not just me, I know that all of you want to hear it. No. I'd like to thank everyone for witnessing this reincarnation as we bring another computer into the world. Stick around for part 3, where we're going to unbox the last 2 packages and make some music.